There's a hard truth most people aren't ready to hear. Most people watching this will never afford a home. Not because they're lazy, not because they made bad decisions, but because the rules changed. And nobody told them. There's a woman in Austin, Texas. Let's call her Maya. She's 31, works in healthcare administration, makes $74,000 a year. No credit card debt, a 760 credit score. $31,000 saved through real sacrifice. Skipped vacations, drove the same car, lived with a roommate longer than she wanted. She did everything right. Everything. And here's what the market gives her in return. The median home in her city costs $385,000. At today's rates, her monthly payment would be just over $3,000. She takes home about $4,600. That means housing alone would take 65% of her income. Not groceries, not gas, not insurance, just the house. Maya can't afford it. Not because she failed, because the system moved. The income required to comfortably buy that same home is around $110,000. She makes $74,000. That gap isn't personal. It's structural. And there are millions of people just like her right now, financially responsible, disciplined, doing everything they were told would work, and quietly realizing it doesn't anymore. And here's the part most people miss. This isn't temporary. This isn't bad timing. This is the result of a system that changed faster than anyone could adapt. And to understand how we got here, you have to go back to the moment everything broke. Because if you trace all of this back, it leads to one moment. 2020. The year is 2020. The world shuts down. And behind closed doors, a decision is made that will reshape American wealth for years. Interest rates drop to zero. Then the Federal Reserve begins injecting $120 billion into the system every single month. Cheap money floods the economy. And almost overnight, everything changes. By early 2021, mortgage rates fall to 2.65%, the lowest level in over 50 years. And this is where the illusion begins. Because houses didn't actually become cheaper. They just became easier to borrow against. And when borrowing gets cheaper, people don't spend less. They spend more. A lot more. Buyers stopped thinking in terms of price. They started thinking in terms of monthly payment. And suddenly, everyone could afford more house. So they bought. Then they bid. Then they overbid. Then they panicked. But this wasn't just about money. COVID changed how people lived. Your home became your office, your gym, your school, your entire world. And millions of people had the exact same realization at the exact same time. Why am I living here? So they left. Manhattan lost hundreds of thousands of residents. San Francisco, Chicago, Los Angeles. And they all moved into the same smaller cities. Austin, Phoenix, Boise, Nashville. Places that were never designed to handle that kind of demand. And suddenly, a normal house wasn't a home anymore. It was a target. Prices didn't rise. They detonated. National home prices jumped 37% in just 2 years. Austin surged over 60%. At one point, thousands of homes were selling for over $100,000 above asking price. For ordinary houses. Nothing special. Just walls, a roof, and pressure. And if you bought during that window, you didn't win because you were smarter. You won because you were early. And if you didn't, what happened next made everything worse. Then something happened that flipped everything overnight. The same system that pushed prices up suddenly slammed on the brakes. By mid-2022, inflation hit 9.1%, the highest in 40 years. And the same system that fueled the surge slammed on the brakes. Fast. The Fed raised rates 11 times in 16 months. Mortgage rates climbed from around 3% to nearly 8%. And this is where the math breaks. That same mortgage that cost around $1,300 a month, Now costs over $2,300. Same house, same street, same everything. $1,000 more. Every month. That's not inflation. That's a wall. And this is where millions of people were quietly eliminated from the market, without realizing it. But here's the part that should make no sense. Demand dropped. Sales collapsed. Affordability got worse. And yet, prices didn't fall. The market didn't crash. It froze. And this is where the situation gets even more complicated, because even the people who did win are now stuck. Right now, more than half of all U.S. mortgages carry a rate below 4%. Millions are locked in below 3%. If you bought during 2020 or 2021, you are holding something that no longer exists. Cheap money. Gone. And here's the trap. If you sell your home today, you don't just move, you give it up. You trade a 2-point-something mortgage for one that costs more than double. On a $400,000 loan, that difference is hundreds of dollars every month, tens of thousands over time. So people don't move, not because they love where they live, because they're financially trapped where they are. The system didn't just price people out, it locked people in. And when no one sells, inventory disappears. And when inventory disappears, nothing moves. The market isn't collapsing, it's stuck. And that creates a very different kind of problem. But the people who feel this the most are the ones trying to get in for the first time. First-time buyers now make up just 21% of purchases, the lowest level in decades. The average first-time buyer is now 40 years old. That used to be 28. A full decade lost. And that decade matters, because it's where most wealth is built. At the same time, older buyers are dominating the market. Many are buying in cash. Equity from decades of ownership, competing directly against younger buyers trying to enter for the first time. And the result is predictable. People delay marriage, delay children, delay stability, or give up entirely. Not because they don't want a home, because they can't justify the math, and the system keeps telling them, now is a great time to buy. Of course it does. Everyone involved makes money when you say yes. Almost nobody benefits when you walk away. And here's what almost nobody talks about. The shortage didn't start in 2020. It was built slowly, over 15 years. After 2008, construction collapsed, and it never fully recovered. Millions of homes that should exist don't. At the same time, builders shifted toward higher-end homes, because that's where the profit is. The traditional starter home, the entry point into ownership, quietly disappeared. Then came the pandemic surge, then the rate spike, then rising material costs. And now we're here, a market with too few homes and too many barriers. And there's no quick fix. You can't build millions of homes overnight. Which brings us to the question everyone keeps asking. Now at this point, a lot of people are asking the same question. Is this just 2008 all over again? This isn't 2008, and that matters. Back then, the system was fragile. Loans were risky, standards were low, defaults triggered collapse. Today, the system is different. Borrowers are stronger. Credit scores are higher. Equity is real. That means something important. This market isn't likely to crash the same way. But that doesn't mean it's healthy. Because a crash creates opportunity. A frozen market just creates pressure. And pressure builds. Slowly. Quietly. Until people start asking a different question. What happens next? And this is where the situation takes another turn. Because the thing everyone is waiting for might not fix this at all. Everyone is waiting for rates to fall. And yes, that would help. But here's the part nobody wants to say out loud. It might not fix the problem. It could make it worse. Because the moment rates drop, millions of buyers come rushing back. Demand explodes. but supply doesn't. And when demand hits limited supply, prices rise again. The same cycle repeats, at a higher level. The solution becomes part of the problem, and what's left is something far less dramatic, but far more difficult. A slow adjustment. No crash. No reset. Just time. So what does all of this actually mean for you? If you're in your 20s or 30s right now, this is the housing market you inherited. Not broken in a dramatic way. Broken in a quiet, structural way. And your frustration? It's justified. The math doesn't work. Not for most people. And pretending it does won't fix it. If the numbers make sense for you, buying can still work. If they don't, forcing it won't make them better. It just makes the risk yours. Renting is not failure. Waiting is not failure. Walking away from bad math is not failure. Because the era of blindly buying and expecting appreciation to save you is over. And what replaces it is something much simpler. Awareness, discipline, and understanding what's actually happening, instead of what you're being told. You're not crazy for thinking this doesn't add up. It doesn't. Now you know why. I'll see you in the next one.